You can completely change your life in 30 days. It starts with saying yes to what matters most to you. Not what matters to Laura down the street or Becky in your community group program. What is it that you are desiring? What would bring you more joy, more peace, more fun, right? If you focus on what's important to you, how can you say yes to yourself? And when you start leaning into that, things are going to completely shift for you. Want to get really clear on your intention. Like, why is it that you want to completely change your life, right? And the best way to do this is to find a word that is going to become your anchor. In the past, I've lacked discipline and consistency. And so when I have a word that anchors me, I do things like in minutes, in like 30 minutes in an hour that usually would take me like years to complete. So when picking a word or an intention, think of something that's going to help you move forward. That's not just going to give you this excitement and then it's going to die down, right? You want something that is going to be your driving force. Regardless of what you choose, if it's courage, if it's confidence, what does that word mean to you specifically? And one last thing before I move to step number 2, write it down. Write your word down, because that is literally going to be your anchor. So if you want to put it on like your whiteboard, or write it down and put it on your fridge with a magnet, or put a sticky note on your mirror, right? Like whatever is going to help you see that word. Next step is to set goals. And setting goals does not have to be really like frustrating or overwhelming. You can set goals that light you up. And so in these 30 days, you are going to pick 3 goals and do those 3 goals for 30 minutes. So that's 30, 3, 30, right? Think about it that way so it could stick. And in those 30 days, ask yourself, what are 3 things I really want to do that are going to get me closer to my vision? Sorry, I close my eyes when I'm thinking sometimes. So what are those 3 goals that are going to get you closer to your vision? So for example, if you really want to be a public speaker, right? What is something that you need to do in these 30 days that is going to get you closer to that vision? So your first goal could be writing your first like presentation, right? Like what do you want to be known for? So take about 30 minutes to write it, and you can refine it and you could practice it, and you can do this for the next 30 days for at least 30 minutes. Before I became a mom, I had all the time in the world, and I wish I would have used my time more wisely, but now I am someone who really knows how to figure out a time schedule that works for me. And so my goal is to work out movement for 30 minutes, is to focus on a creative project for 30 minutes, and to be more mindful for 30 minutes a day. So that means not being on my phone. When I go on a walk with my son, I'm not on my phone unless I'm like taking a photo, but I'm not scrolling, I'm not listening to music, I'm not listening to podcasts. And step number 3 is about noticing your pattern. So for example, a pattern that I noticed over the years with myself was that I would get super frustrated or overwhelmed before I even began, because I would create all these stories about, oh my God, it's so hard, or I would just get in my head a lot. And I started noticing that pattern. So anytime that frustration shows up, I allow myself to feel it, but I do not allow myself to prevent it from doing the thing that I want. So for example, filming videos has always been something that I find a little bit difficult, or I get in my head about, but instead of spiraling, I allow myself to notice that feeling, and then I'm like, why am I frustrated? I just wish that I had more time. And then I ask myself, do you have to film 8 videos in one sitting? No, I don't. I can film 2. Okay, great, right? So being able to notice those patterns. So my camera died, so I had to stop recording, but let's jump back into it. When a pattern shows up, instead of beating yourself up about it, shaming yourself for having it, allow yourself to feel it. It's really important to just understand these patterns that are causing you from getting closer to your goal. And the only way that you're going to be more self-aware and understand your patterns that, again, are preventing you from going after the things that you want and preventing you from being the woman that you are called to be, is knowing them so that they don't continue, right? But also, again, holding space for yourself, because we're human. There's going to be moments we get frustrated. And so knowing how to work through that, taking some time to step away from whatever's frustrating you, taking some time to breathe 3 times in, out, right? And finding those things that work for you. Now, this is step 4, and this is living with gratitude. That is the way that you are going to be more radiant than you have ever been. Because here's the thing, when you're so focused on the things that you don't have, and you're constantly comparing yourself with people, and you're just frustrated with everything that's not working out for you, that is going to show up in your energy, in the way that you radiate. But if you are constantly rooted in gratitude, that is going to show. It is literally an energy thing. I know that sounds so woo-woo, but I know this because I remember moving back to my hometown, and oftentimes when that happens to people, right? People are like, ugh, I have to be back in my hometown. Like, there's nothing to do here. And I could have easily been in that state, but I asked myself, what is so beautiful about living here? There has to be things that are like so beautiful. And I would always find those things in my town. I would make myself fall in love with the town, right? By just like being curious, by meeting new people, by finding little holes in the wall. And through that, I radiated light because I was just so thankful to be back home, and I was able to build a relationship with my mom and start my business and just like enjoy the season that I was in, which was moving back home and being okay with that. Then I remember about 2 years ago, I moved to my dream city in California. It's near the Bay Area. And it's a pretty cute town. It's kind of bougie in some regards. And I remember when I would walk around the mall, I would be like, I could never afford these clothes. Like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna be able to go eat out all the time. And I focus on the things that like I wouldn't be able to do because I'm a self-aware girly. If you're a self-aware girly, leave a comment. Self-awareness is so important. And when I noticed this, when I noticed that these like negative patterns of lack of abundance and money were coming up, I was like, oh my God, I get to live in this city. This was like a dream city of mine. And the fact that I get to live here, I belong here. And I started walking. This was like literally within a week of moving here. I started completely shifting my mindset of like, I belong here. I get to go out on a walk and enjoy the parks and enjoy the beautiful library, which is free, and enjoy a cup of coffee and read a book in the library. And I started noticing the lamps and the lights in the city and the flower pots and all the beautiful things that this city had to offer that didn't require me spending all the time. That if you're one of those people who are like, I don't want to write the 3 things I'm most grateful for in a journal, that just sounds so repetitive and it's just not my thing, I get it. But there are other ways to be grateful. You can be grateful by just noticing what is around you, what you have. So for example, if you go to the gym and you're working out, say, thank you, God, for this healthy body. Thank you for giving me the ability to move today, to make time to nourish my body, to pour into myself. If you're drinking a coffee at a coffee shop, notice the beauty around you. Like, wow, I get to live here. I get to just hang out at this beautiful coffee shop where I could build community and meet new people and just enjoy this delicious latte or chai tea. Like, so yummy. This is such a gift. Just like, really indulge in that, right? Like really savor the deliciousness of life by just noticing what is around you. Or prayer, just praying to God and saying, thank you, God, for another day of life. But if you are a journal girl like me, this one right here, the 5-minute journal, I swear by it. I'm not as consistent as I'd like with this, but honestly, when I open up the journal and I see like everything that I've written, it just reminds me how lucky I am, and it just makes me radiate every time I open it. And another way to just journal is just to like write in your journal, right? The beautiful things that you noticed, everything that you love and have. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm grateful for this. It could just be like, wow, I had the best conversation with my husband. He is so emotionally intelligent and we spoke about this, and I want more conversations like this. And the beautiful thing about writing it down is that when you are kind of in a you know, icky mood or you're frustrated, you can go back to your journal and just see the goodness that you have in your life and get to be so much more grateful, especially when you have written like prayers and then you go back and read those prayers and you're like, oh my God, I am so grateful. I'm more grateful because God has heard my prayers. Next is celebrating your wins, big or small, personal, professional, spiritual, mental, emotional. How have you grown as a person? Not just all your achievements or how much money you've made or the house that you bought, although those are great and you should definitely celebrate them. Create that bulletproof list, that like list of things that have happened for you, the things that you have received, the blessings, the gifts, like having that. Just celebrating your life, celebrating those wins is gonna completely change the way that you radiate, the way that you show up in the next 30 days, I promise you. I love looking back at, again, my gratitude list and my wins list and just seeing like how amazing life is when you're in a place of abundance, in a place of gratitude, in a place of joy, because life is just good when you look at it through those lens, right? You get to choose the way that you see life. And life wasn't always like this for me, where I felt so much joy. There was moments where I lived in chaos and I prayed for peace. And looking back at it, the moments where I felt most happy was because I was celebrating the wins, the personal wins, the emotional wins, the prayers answered, and like having that list. And in my 20s, I started creating a bulletproof list. So anytime I'm like just in a frumpy mood, I love going to that list and reminding myself of all the beautiful wins I've had in my life and not focusing on all the things that haven't happened for me. Last one, I wanted to bring my laptop for this because I love creating a life vision. I like to call it my life manifesto. And I'm not going to read it all to you. I may make a different video for this, but creating a vision for your life is so important, because when you're in moments where you're just like confused or there's just too much noise going on, being able to go back to your vision, which contains your why, and it contains the things you want to have and the person that you want to be and the things that you want to do and how you want to react to life, it includes all of that. When you have that, you're gonna be able to be rooted in who you are, and you're not gonna feel confused, you're not gonna feel lost, because you have a vision, a plan, right? And that plan is not saying that that's exactly what's gonna happen, but you have a direction that you can look at every single day. So I wanna share a little glimpse of my life manifesto that I wrote in 2023. And the reason I wanna share this specifically is because before I started filming videos again, I just got really like frustrated and started crying because I was like, I don't have the best backdrop and all of this, and I can't find my tripod and my camera's not working. And I was just thinking of all the things that weren't working out for me. And so I needed to go back to my life vision, and I have one that I'm updating for 2025. I wrote this in 2023. I was not married yet or engaged. I'm a stay-at-home mom who works remotely on her coaching and speaking business. I use my mornings to go on walks with my kiddos. I'm gonna skip some parts because I don't want that on the internet, just because it's sacred to me. Then at 12 p.m. I have made lunch with my kiddos. I take coaching calls from 1 to 3. After work, I play and I work out with my kiddos, swimming, gym. I'm comfortable with setting mama and work boundaries. I love that part specifically because I have found a balance in motherhood and following my passions. My son, he goes to swimming classes, and the fact that I put like swimming there, like I wanted to take my kids to like swimming. And so it was just really cool to see that everything's like came together, because I have been rooted in, again, gratitude and celebrating what I have. And also reading my life manifesto, that's so important to go back to it. And especially when you're in a place of like new goals, reinventing your identity, you know, kind of going back to the drawing board, having a life manifesto is going to completely change how you radiate, because it might not make sense to a colleague or a friend or someone in your community or a church or whatever, but if it makes sense to you, like the goal or what you're doing in this season of life, that's all that matters. And you're gonna feel so much more free, so much more authentic, so much more confident, so much more radiant, because you know that you have a life vision that you're co-creating with God. And when you have that, and when it's clear, and then the best part is when God like answers that, like, wow, I wrote this in 2023 and that's like my life right now. I get to stay home and I get to go to the gym for an hour, and I get to play with my son, and I also get to create and work on my business on Saturdays, right? Like I have this life. And I didn't mention this, but I do want to mention it because I think it's so important that when you are going through an identity shift, or you are just changing, or you're challenging yourself to become a better version of you in 30 days, or it's so important to write down what's working and what's not, right? So for me, for so long, I was trying to force like working out super early in the morning, and then that wasn't working out for me. And then I realized that like the earliest that I could was 8:30 in the morning. Me and my son go on a walk, and then around like 11 to 1, like I play with him, and then in the afternoon around 4, that's when I can go to the gym. And that's just worked out for me. And so it's so important to start noticing what's working out for you and what's not, because again, it avoids you comparing yourself. It avoids you stressing yourself out because your plan doesn't look like someone else's, which it's not supposed to. And I want to point out that comparison is the thief of joy, and the only way you're going to radiate in these next 30 days or next few months is by focusing on, again, what matters to you. So it's so important to say yes to those things, the things that matter most to you. I'm just going to drill that in. If you want to stay connected, join my newsletter where I talk all about saying yes to yourself, living an intentional life, living a more radiant life, and just, again, feeling more confident in yourself because you are saying yes to the things that matter. So if all of this just resonated and you want more of it, feel free to sign up to my newsletter, and thank you for watching this video. Bye.